So let me begin with the youngest person that we have on our panel, Abhishek, who's all of 23 years of age and therefore represents this new spirit perhaps better than anybody else. Abhishek, what is your sense of this new consumer? And how do you see this new consumers and what do you think is changing when you look at it from the vantage point of your business?
Thank you, sir. So for us, we see the new consumer being much more conscious about the quality of products that they're consuming. With the proliferation of cheap data, there is a lot of access to aspirational content, different brands, different qualities, right? So for us, we saw that the new consumer, especially accelerated by COVID, is much more conscious of the brands that they're buying, the qualities that they're buying, and they're also looking that the brands that they buy provide them with solutions. There has also been an increase in the kind of purchasing power that we see. So we're in the building material space, in the architectural hardware and security solutions space. So here we see that consumers, especially homeowners, they really care about what they're putting into their homes, the kinds of brands that they're putting into homes. And we're seeing that tier 2, tier 3 markets are really booming. And that's where we're trying to go, where we're trying to connect with the end consumer in tier 2, tier 3 markets and provide them with end solutions.
Does this not contrast with the idea that actually more and more businesses have to actually pay more attention to regional differences, or the fact that they have to customize their strategies for individual regions? So, I mean, how do you reconcile these two different kind of ideas? Abhishek, what is your view on this?
Yeah, so to echo Ankit, I think that as brands, we need to be conscious that a consumer is now asking the question, why should we care about you, right? Why? It's not necessarily enough to just supply a product, but what is the message that is there associated with your brand? And then additionally, yes, I think that the brands or consumers actually care about their regional differences. Yes, there is more consumption across the board of multimedia, but you still care about what regionally your differences are. So as a strategy, we are also focusing on communications and products that can be specific to different regions within the country.
Abhishek, when we were talking, you had mentioned the fact that the whole thing about the international brand versus the Indian brand, and the fact that, is today being an Indian brand, particularly in a category like yours, is that an advantage or a disadvantage when consumers think of international brands in the same space versus an Indian brand? How are these two weighed today?
Yeah, so I'll actually kind of take this question back to how Ozone originated and then bring it back to the question. So my father had originally wanted to become the distributor of a large German hardware company. And then when he landed in Germany about 20 years ago, he was told that India में opportunity नहीं है, quality नहीं समझते लोग और purchasing power नहीं है. So he did not even receive a catalog from the German company. And so when he came back, his thought was that we need to build a brand that is for Indian consumers, that is able to provide products that are international quality or better, right? And then 20 years later, now for that particular product range, Germany happens to be our largest export market. So that is not just an evolution of Ozone, but that's an evolution of brand India. It's the evolution of how India is being perceived at a global stage. It's not just about labor arbitrage or outsourcing anymore. I think, and also many people in this room have showcased the power of Indian brands going global, the kind of technology, services, and products that we have the capability of creating. Right? So I think there has been a shift in the global perception. However, to add to this, another illustration or example that we faced as Ozone is that sometimes when we, within India, bid for government projects or big builder projects, there is a discount that is given to an Indian manufacturer, कि इंडियन मैन्युफैक्चरर है तो पता नहीं क्वालिटी सही होगी या सर्विस उस क्वालिटी की मिलेगी versus a French or an Italian or a German manufacturer, right? So for the brand India to continue growing, it needs to start with each and every one of us in each and every one of our daily consumption habits. We need to put Indian brands and homegrown brands out there. We need to get it out of our minds that European hai to automatically superior hai, right? So once we start doing that in our daily life, right, that's when brand India will evolve. That's when we will continue growing in an international market.
But let me challenge that a bit, just to make it interesting. It's true, certainly, that there is growing pride and there is a resurgence in the Indian kind of entrepreneurial space. But on the other hand, if you were to think about Indian businesses and brands that have a global presence, that are really strong globally, there are that many of them, right? Even in categories which were traditionally considered to be Indian categories, like tea, there isn't a global Indian brand that is significant, right?
Right.
There are Sri Lankan brands that are global, but not Indian brands. So, is there a reason why that anybody in the panel, anybody is free to answer this, that we believe that so far, in spite of all the advantages, in spite of clearly the change that we are seeing on the ground, we still somehow have not made enough of a transition to being a genuine global player?
So I think, again, as I said, it has to begin at home, right? So once at home we start taking that pride and we start putting in that effort. And I think that the potential is there. I think there's a lot of leaps that are being taken. And I think that it's only a matter of time, personally, once, we've gone past that phase. For the past 25, 30 years of globalization within India, there was a lot more export of services, right? But now that India has started producing more technology and more products, I think it's only a matter of time before we're able to go into different categories in a global manner.
One of the advantages, I think, in today's world is the fact that thanks to technology, the differences between countries, the legacy differences between countries have narrowed. I mean, it is possible for everybody to be on a level playing field, relatively speaking, because of the fact that, you have access that is instant and easy. There is capital that is available in much more, it's much more adequacy, today capital adequacy than ever existed before. Given all this, do you think technology is likely to be a big driver in taking Indian businesses and brands globally, Abhishek? Do you see the role, a big opportunity that technology is giving us?
So I think technology is a great equalizer, right? It helps provide opportunities to people. And I think that's where it has the largest potential. I think consumers, end consumers are also looking for technology. I think there is a democratization of data, there's a democratization of opportunity that technology is able to provide, which then helps companies build products or services that are able to go global. Web3 doesn't care whether they are Indian or American or Portuguese, right? Web3 exists in a much more decentralized network. So of course there is opportunity there, and as I said, there is democratized opportunity in technology, right? But so yes, I'm sure Indian brands and Indian individuals will create a lot of differentiation within Web3, but that's not the only place that technology, where India can go into with technology. I think the kinds of softwares that we're producing or the kinds of products that we're producing has the potential to go global. So I think those are two separate tracks.
Abhishek, hi. Can you hear me?
Hi, yeah.
You were very passionately talking about Indian brands and how we need to, put our full belief behind our own brands and stuff like that. But, it's also a fact that a lot of times we do get disappointed in terms of the quality when we start comparing. Do you think we are at that stage when we can compete in quality in most of the spheres? Your field of play may be different than a lot of other things that we might use in our daily usage. But to compete at an international level with brands where Made in India is actually a brand to reckon with. You think we are ready to be there already?
So that's a fair point. My point was that, sometimes what happens is there's an automatic assumption that there may be a difference in quality due to an Indian manufacturer, right? That's the difference, right? An Italian product may be superior, sure, right? And maybe in a lot of sectors, India will take time, Indian manufacturing and services will take time to catch up. But my point was more related that it deserves a fair shot and that we need to get it out of that automatic subconscious reaction when we're choosing between, let's say, an Italian brand and an Indian brand for a product that may be there. That is something that we need to look at.
But in that sense, somebody has worked hard over decades to get to that Italian brand. And if I have the money to spend, frankly, would I not be, in the right frame of mind to compare that, okay, I'm getting in this much money an international brand and in this much money an Indian brand. So it's only, I think, legitimate that I compare and then I go for someone who's proved themselves over the years. That's why maybe you suffer from the assumption. Isn't that fair? Like from a consumer's point of view?
Yeah, so I think that's perfectly fair to make that comparison and reach the conclusion that yes, there is a quality difference and I can afford it, and so I want to choose the Italian brand. My point is that we need to just be careful in the way that we're comparing and just be more broad-minded during that comparison journey. If I can just add to that point, we're not asking you to choose over a better quality international brand and Indian brand, right? That's not the point here. The point is, it's a limited point in terms of giving it a fair shot and looking at how we are comparing different brands. And then to echo Ankit, a lot of times Indian companies are better positioned to create products that are specific to our societies.
Yeah, there's a hand back.
Okay. So my question is for mainly to the young entrepreneurs because, sorry sir, because I want to know that since you guys have just started, no matter what, so many experienced people are around you. You are new. That is a fact, right? So I want to know that whether the government or there are other hurdles like things like the rules and regulations, the culture, if that is do you see that as an opportunity or do you see that as a hurdle? Do you feel like the rules and regulations could be better so that your entrepreneurial objectives would match better for India or, yeah?
I also think the barrier to entry has reduced, right? I personally have had the privilege to have a platform that I've joined on, but I think in general what I see is a lot of people my age starting out small businesses in very specific niches, solving problems for people of their own kind, right? And so the barrier of entries have reduced, and the kind of niches that are available have grown.